Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we discuss and review your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern Bay Area, is Greg. Say hello, Greg.
Hey, how's it going, Ozzy?
You sound so upset, and I'm thinking the reason you might sound so upset is because the first online game of Madden that we have ever had on our own prospective teams, none of this ultimate team garbage, but rather the Raiders versus the 49ers. Ozzy versus Greg, Madden, finally online. How'd it go? Man, it got up. It was very uncomfortable for me. Greg was up 21-6 at the half, and all of a sudden he started to get arrogant, started throwing the ball all over the place, which I picked out of the air one of the times, running it back for 6 points, and I ended up coming back. What was it? Oh yeah, it was 41-38 Raiders. And I think the tone of your voice encapsulates the emotion that you had after your defeat. Am I wrong?
You know, Ozzy, actually, you are, but you brought up another pain that, I didn't need on top of the pain that you gave me with the commercial that ruined my childhood. So you've now doubled down on my pain on this wonderful Valentine's Day that we're recording.
You know, I get that, but hey, I'm not here to ignore history. I mean, if I'm going to make fun of stuff from today, if I'm going to make fun of stuff from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I got to go back 30, 40 years. There is going to be no stone left unturned when it comes to these stupid commercials.
That's why you're a Raiders fan, because you have to go back 30, 40 years to when they were good. So I get it. I appreciate the commitment.
You know, I understand. I understand what you mean, Greg. At the same time, I have no control over how the Raiders perform in real life. What I do have control over is how they perform online within Madden 21, as it's been evidenced in the past week. So suck it. Anyway, next up, Flesh Wound producer Todd. How are you?
I thought you forgot about me. I just kind of zoned out.
No, I got amped up. I got a little excited when we started jabbing about the Madden stuff, and then obviously Greg referencing the Flintstone. No, I shouldn't say Flintstones commercial, because that might make you think, oh, like Flintstones vitamins. Oh no. These
are better than vitamins.
Absolutely. This is a commercial. Now, we are talking about BOWFINGER today, but before we get into that discussion, commercial we have today is for Winston cigarettes, and it features the Flintstones. It's from 1968, very early on. 60s. Todd, would you please do the honors?
All right, here we go.
They sure work hard, don't they, Barney?
Yeah? I hate to see them work so hard.
Yeah, me too. Let's go around back where we can't see them.
Gee, we ought to do something, Fred.
Okay? How's about taking a nap?
Hey, I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break.
That's it! Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend.
Yeah, Fred. Filter blend makes the big taste difference, and only Winston has it up front where it counts. Here, ahead of the pure white filter. Winston packs rich tobaccos specially selected and specially processed for good flavor in filter smoking.
Yeah, Barney, Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
All right. So this is chock full of, I think about Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams, when he's supposed to be doing the voiceover and they're telling him you're supposed to do the spot with the cigarettes and he doesn't want to do it. It seems like this is what they're making fun of. First off, not only smoking the cigarettes, you see Fred and Barney sitting in a backyard. And anybody listening to the audio version, just if I could quickly describe it, you had Fred and Barney sitting in the backyard in bedrock or whatever, and Wilma's mowing the lawn. And what's Barney's wife's name? Is it
well, hold on, Betty, it is, but I got to correct you real quick.
Okay.
It's Fred and Barney in the front yard,
Okay,
And they don't want to
sorry.
see the women working. That's interrupting their good time.
Right. So you have Wilma mowing the lawn and you have Betty beating a rug. And they're like, man, I hate seeing these women work. Yeah, let's go around back. And so they're sitting in the back. And then you have Barney saying, oh, we got to do something. And you think, oh, like for the wives because they're doing this work. Yeah, let's take a nap. Oh, no, they're still talking about themselves. Okay, cool. And Barney says, let's have a Winston break. Break from what? You've literally done nothing. What are you breaking from? And obviously you hear the instrument used to beat a rug and the lawnmower thrown on Fred and Barney as the commercial ends out. Man, this was fun to watch and hopefully fun to listen to. How about some initial thoughts, Greg?
No, it was that ruined my childhood completely.
It improved mine.
One of my first jobs was working Great America as a costumed character, and my second character that I ever was Barney Rubble. So there was some personal connection there. But the biggest complaint I have outside of the obvious of this commercial is the fact that there was never a point where the dinosaur that was actually doing the chewing of the grass didn't turn around and say, yeah, sure, it's them doing the work, or something along those lines in typical Flintstone fashion.
They should have had him go and have a cigarette with them.
Right?
Yes, you did hear that correctly. That was cigarettes promoted by the Flintstones.
And the best part about it was like everything was animated except the cigarettes. It was just like a picture of a cigarette moving around. That was hilarious to me.
So I think, very interesting to see. Might describe certain personalities you may come across, people in a certain age. Some people will say, man, I miss seeing the Flintstones as a kid. And these are the same people that complain about how new stuff is all wrong. I mean, you just got to kind of add the two together. But this is not a political show. This is a show about farcical comedies that we review and discuss. And this week, yes, Todd, what?
I was going to say, I don't know. Tonight seems like we're going to have a pretty big, back in the day type discussion.
Yeah.
It could have easily led into that, but we don't have time for that because that's honestly not what we're here for.
But it's going to lead into this, though. Ozzy didn't notice it. Okay.
Maybe I didn't notice.
Okay.
What did I miss?
It'll come up organically.
It'll come up organically.
I can't believe he doesn't understand.
Well, let me start off by reading the synopsis
Please.
of this 1999 film release on August 13th, rated PG-13 with a runtime of approximately an hour and 37 minutes, starring Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham, among others, directed by Frank Oz. This reads, how does Bobby Bowfinger, Hollywood's least successful director, get Kit Ramsey, Hollywood's biggest star, in his ultra-low-budget film? Any way he can. With an ingenious scheme, the help of Kit's eager and nerdy brother Jiff, an ambitious and sexy wannabe, and an over-the-hill diva, Bowfinger sets out to trick Kit Ramsey into the performance of a lifetime. Enjoy the fun with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin together for the first time. Hit comedy Bowfinger.
That information that was a little spoilery. Give away the brother thing.
Yeah,
it's on the cover.
No, that's what I'm saying. Well,
we're saying the cover is a spoiler. Unfortunately,
it's telling you that they're related.
But I mean, it's not intended to be like a spoiler, as in like, he doesn't come in. Hold on a second, I gotta explain this. He doesn't come in till halfway through the movie, sure, but the fact of the matter is, like, this is what you're expecting when you see the poster or wherever. Like, it is sort of spoilers, but that's not the whole point of the
I know,
thing.
but I'm saying they make a big deal when they say it's his brother. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. It was just
Are you just
now that I'm listening to you, Todd?
Instead of myself.
Well,
not the first time.
Yeah, well. Anyway, it was still enjoyable, regardless. And it was fun to see everybody's reactions at that moment. And initial thoughts, it was fun to see a small role by Robert Downey Jr. pre-Iron Man and Tony Stark, because that's what he's been associated with for like the past, since 2008. So it was fun to see that. You also had a cameo from John Cho, which was pretty fun to see. Greg, initial thoughts.
So this is what I'm loving about doing this podcast is there are a lot of movies that have been on the list of why haven't you seen this movie? And this was on it. And so it was fantastic to go back and see Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy in like their heyday. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Lots of good laughs, lots of great moments. Excited to get into our favorites. But yeah, no, it definitely couldn't get away with a lot of things, but it was fun and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Todd.
That's what I was alluding to earlier, Ozzy. So some of the things you can't do are also in this. The whole Heather Graham part would be very problematic today. But for the movie, what are you thinking about?
You're referring to the nude scene or the?
Oh no, I'm referring to just horning around.
Or in general.
Yeah, it'd be a little too close to what Hollywood's going through now. But they like to forget about this side of the story, which does happen. But it'd be problematic now. That said, you guys know who she was based off of?
No.
Anne Heche, who they even talk about how she dated an older man. She actually dated Steve Martin. And then she hooked up with the most powerful lesbian in Hollywood.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'm holding it in. It's
kind of it's 21 years later, so it's not the first thing you're gonna think of because I haven't probably watched this in 21 years. But I forget throughout like the Pluto Nashes and some of the other Haunted Mansions and other stuff. There's still some good Eddie Murphy, and this is one of them. I do think it's more of a Steve Martin movie. They only had him for 6 days on the production, but this movie's just awesome. Eddie Murphy. They only had him for 6 days.
Fitting for the storyline.
It is.
Speaking of which, the parking garage scene where he's being chased in that garage, they actually filmed that scene a month between when they had filmed the other side of that. So because Eddie Murphy wasn't available, so you had the scene with the dog in heels making that sound as though they're chasing him when in actuality he wasn't in the garage. And then Eddie Murphy's entire reaction, nobody was in the garage with him at that time due to the schedules that conflicted. There was a lot of that kind of thing that had to happen. But what was really interesting seeing, or rather hearing the commentary, well, one thing is I'm not sure Frank Oz enjoys doing commentary because it seemed like he had all his production notes and was like picking things out based on what was being seen. But one of the most interesting things that he had mentioned was that with a lot of the takes that happened is he would have about 3 takes where they do a couple where like they get whatever they needed. And then on the last take, they would say, I don't care what you do. We have what we got. Do whatever you guys want. And they would end up using that footage in the actual product. Like for the scene with Steve Martin, Robert Downey Jr., which they had actually rehearsed that one small scene before they actually shot it. The specific line where Robert Downey Jr. takes the script, it's like, okay, opening, then all that, and then goes to the very end. And in the commentary, he's like, I love that line by him because it indicates nobody really cares what's in the middle. They only care what's in the beginning and what's in the end. So it was fun to see the amount of effort and improvisation. Basically, it sounds like half of Eddie Murphy's lines were improvised. The scene when he's at the cafe where he's talking about white man gets a role about a retard, he gets an Oscar win. A black guy gets a role about a slave, he gets Oscar nomination. Find me a retarded slave role. That whole scene was ad-libbed by Murphy. They had something else written entirely different, but they felt that was what needed to go or needed to be used. And you had a lot of so the scene where you first see Jiff and they're auditioning him, they had actually mixed in questions that he didn't know he was going to be asked. And that led to some of the reactions, like the way. So when Steve Martin asks, will you be all right with you exposing your rear end in the film? That wasn't expected to be asked. So that makes his reaction, like even hearing Frank Oz react to his reaction is such like this guy knocked it out of the park. Look at him. And it's true. That actually is where one of my favorite lines, and I'll transition into this right now. One of my favorite lines is and would you be comfortable running errands? And he says, oh, I hope to get a career running errands. That'd be a huge boost for me. That was one of the lines that made me wheeze. I was laughing so hard. And what was so great, it was just such like a subtle, like there was no real like, oh, this is going to be a joke kind of buildup. It was just, there it is. And oh man, hilarious. What about your guys' favorite lines?
Look, there were a lot, and it was hard. And I think one of the ones that, at least I'm hoping, one of the ones that I thought I was going to say, Todd's going to take. But the one that it wasn't necessarily the funniest as in what the line was, but how unexpected it was when the psychiatrist, whatever that guy is,
Terrence Stamp, played by Terrence Stamp. Uh-huh.
Yeah, when they said, well, are there any other voices you were hearing? Eddie Murphy goes into full JFK. Like, I did not. And you need to take down the Laker girls a peg. Like that, I just lost it because it was so unexpected that's where it was going. But yeah.
Just a quick note on that. While it was unexpected, it made sense because earlier you see a scene where he's actually defending Ted Kennedy and talks about he's different than all of them. Right. So to see him channeling that voice or whatnot just added depth to the whole thing. Todd?
Mm-hmm. I'm curious what Greg thinks my favorite scene is. He's like, I know it.
I don't think I know it, but I'm hoping it is because it was hilarious. The scene in which he fires a gun.
That was funny, but there's two things in here that always make me laugh. One, it's the obvious one. The freeway scene is hilarious. And it's just when he's like he's like calming him down. We're done. All right, take two. And then we do it again. Because every time it catches me off guard, I forget we do it twice. The other little bit, which I actually have trivia on this one, but it's like makes me chuckle. And the scene that, Bowfinger comments, oh, I'm 49, but I could possibly pass for 38, which, Hollywood age is a huge thing. But the thing I didn't find out till later was, every movie costs $2,184, which I love that bit too. But they said he put, what was it, $10 in every week? Or
he put $1 in every week. Yeah.
Okay, if you divide that sum, that would make Bowfinger in the movie 52. So even his real age is bullshit.
Which nice. That's some great depth to it. Yeah. Just to touch on that, you mentioned the freeway scene actually filmed on the Glendale freeway, and after the reaction of him where he runs up, he's like, I don't want to do this. Oh, I really got it. And he's all like in hysterics, all ad-libbed as well. That there was nothing in the script that just was him that brought that out. Also, the scene where
which Daisy, it was really him running across the freeway. Cars were digitally added. But.
Yes, that's true. And the scene with Daisy and Heather Graham where she removes her top and the only thing that was written in the script was him saying awesome. Everything else, his reaction leading up to it, because he knows what was going to happen. You see the look on his face, and afterward, like, you're doing great. You're going to be a star. That was him. And in the delete or the outtakes, he actually goes on further, but Heather Graham ends up breaking, because it was great seeing the outtakes. If you have an opportunity to snag this DVD that has the outtakes, I'd highly recommend it. Because the deleted scene that I'll go into in a second, but one of the outtakes has him where he had just slept with Daisy and he's all excited and Bowfinger's got to tell him, okay, you got to do this and you got to call your brother, and he's leaving and find out when he's going. And as they're leaving the office, one of the outtakes, Bowfinger knocks over a lamp. And so, of course, in the scene, Jif is going over the things. He's got to go to the station. Got to get pencils. Got to pick up the lamp. Then I'll go to the lamp store. He just like rolls. It's so brilliant to see him just in it and just commenting. He didn't break. He just kept going with the scene until, cut had been yelled. And it's so much fun to see that kind of stuff. And that is everything I wanted to really touch on. The braces, by the way, were Eddie Murphy's idea. They initially did not have him wearing braces, and the only thing they did was the braces, and they had his ears stick out a little bit more. Only differences they had for him, but man, the braces were such a huge like
Yeah,
visual.
It works, and the way he makes expressions when he is GIF, it just works so well.
He knows exactly what he's
Yeah.
doing. It's fantastic. And one of the deleted scenes that I mentioned was following BOWFINGER getting the okay and approaching the valet saying, "You wouldn't happen to know anyone who knows Kit Ramsey's phone number," or whatever, right? The next scene shows him going to different dry cleaners. First, he goes into a regular, just podunk dry cleaners. How much do you charge to dry clean a shirt? $2.50. Okay, thank you. Leaves. Goes, finds a fancier place. How much do you charge to dry clean a shirt? $8. Okay, thank you very much. Then immediately, those are so quick, shot back to back. But then when it gets to the third one, it's this huge open, like, warehouse with white walls and these windows, and all you see in the corner is like a fancy desk with a receptionist that has a coat hanger like on her sweater, and it's all super fancy, right? How much do you charge to dry clean a shirt? $13. I'm here to pick up Kit Ramsey's dry cleaning. And that's how he finds out where he lives. And Frank Oz had mentioned that there was so much stuff that I wanted to keep in, but in the previews, the matter of pacing, I just got a sense from the audience that we needed to speed up here or slow down here. So a lot of the time I ended up taking out a lot of what you didn't see in the film. So, but again, goes to the testament of the amount of depth that was provided. And he had mentioned, Frank Oz had mentioned how even as they're going, they're changing. The script was fluid, and made it a point that Martin had said, this isn't the final product. As up to editing, they would do reshoots and change things and to make things more fun and easy to understand, because it makes something complicated, then the jokes don't hit because you're still trying to figure out what's going on. Like, for example, where they explain how they're going to film this movie around Kit Ramsey. And he says, follow me. This is where Kit's going to be. We have people just go up to him and say their lines. All that was shot 3 months after the fact to give audience, to keep audience on pace. This is what's going on. This is how we're going to do it. Enjoy the laughs. And that's ultimately what made it fun. Now I don't want my score to indicate that it's, I don't mean to say, well, it's not perfect, because there are moments where you have so much good talent and brilliant lines, and the way they're delivered, there's such a rapid pace to it that there's some moments that slow things down just a bit. And I think that's what Frank Oz was trying to avoid. But there's just some moments where it couldn't be avoided. You need to have some of these scenes that did slow some things down. So with that, I think I'd have to give it a 4.5. So that's where I'm at. 4.5. Just, I mean, Jif's character adds so much, and his and the reactions to it make it a 4.5 for me.
You know, Eddie Murphy's 3 characters, I'm going to say 3 because of Kennedy. His 3 characters were so diverse, and the jokes, sometimes you saw them coming, sometimes they were out of left field and they were fantastic, but every single one of them hit for me. And so it may also be because I've never seen this movie before. So it was
Wait, you didn't see it before today?
Right. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah. So this was a first.
He doesn't pay attention.
I know.
Oh, I thought like you were referring to somebody else. Like, you know, when you had mentioned like, how have you not seen this movie?
Yeah.
I thought you were referring to somebody else.
Somebody else
Okay,
means
right.
not Ozzy.
That's funny. That's really funny. So I'm sorry. Go on, Greg.
But yeah, so it was fun to watch because it was a movie from a generation that had a style of comedy that I love. So since it was new but old at the same time, since it had so many great lines, I was thoroughly entertained the entire time. I have to give it a 5. And I don't blame you. I was teetering on 4.5, but I just couldn't find a moment where I was, I did have that boredom, and probably because I'd never seen any of it. So, yeah.
I went back and forth between the two numbers too, but I'm a 4.5 also. strong rating. I mean, all around. So
it's still, I mean, you still got to watch it no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, holy Toledo.
Streaming on Cinemax.
On Cinemax. Is that with their own Cinemax streaming service, or is that with the premium subscription via Hulu?
It's available on both.
Okay.
I did it. Amazon Prime has their Cinemax edition, so same idea.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. By all means, check it out, and if you can find a way to get the hands on those outtakes or deleted scenes, man, you just got an idea that all these guys just had such a blast on this set, and it was equally as fun to watch. So be sure to watch it, and next week we'll be back with a new episode, another commercial, and the film we will be watching and reviewing, Mel Brooks's History of the World Part 1.
This will be my first time in like 30 years.
Holy cow.
I'm excited.
I see the movie. I see the movie about every 6 months personally. I love refreshing myself on that movie because we'll get into that next week. How's that for a hook? Ladies and gentlemen, and Todd, before we go, actually, anything you want to talk about Flesh Wound Horror?
Oh, yes.
Doing?
How could I forget? We didn't talk about it. The all new website's been revamped. Looks good. You can go check it out. fleshwoundfeatures.com. Best picture of Dan we've ever had. And then we have Final Destination franchise show coming up this Wednesday. And then starting next week, we're going to, as Ozzy named it, there's always room for Giallo. We're going to have our Giallo 15 movie series.
Holy Toledo.
13 episodes.
And in case you are interested in seeing some profanity thrown during a game of Monopoly, check that out every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Twitch channel Talkies. Be featuring myself, individual Michael Porter, and a random player that we'll know on that date. Once again, that's every Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I actually pulled a Charlie Day this past week and wore green, not thinking it would pick up. I was trying to play off this whole thing that, oh, we got this guy Park Place Porter Prick, and I'm wearing a Piper's Pit t-shirt, and the green and the Piper's Pit logo I didn't realize till the very end when he made me bigger to plug this show. So still check it out regardless. I'm a 2-time champion. I'm undefeated. I'm undefeated right now in modified rules, not in the stupid classic rules. Those are for lamos. Anyway, Greg, you got anything?
I'm glad I unfortunately missed Saturday. I had to work because I couldn't have stood you winning twice. It is a lot of fun.
Now I understand, like, oh, I missed it. I'll just watch it next week. These videos are still on the profile, and I will let you know that this past set of rules that we played with this past week involved auctions only, and you could not collect rent while in jail. And spoiler, there was a moment where I had 3 houses on one of the expensive properties. It would have been $750 worth of rent. Would have bankrupted a player, except I couldn't collect rent because I was in jail. So it creates these moments. There's a lot of yelling and a lot of cursing. So if that's up your alley, I highly recommend checking it out. Talkies, TALKIEZ on Twitch. All right, we're good for this week. We will see you next week. Flesh Wound Farce. That's Greg. That's Todd. And I'm Ozzy V. Have a good night.